right now, right here, right now.
What is your sense of where regulation of the commodities market is heading? Is it increasing or is it slowing down?
It's really rolling back. I mean, there's no question in my mind that's the case, but it's not what the president initially and candidate Trump called for, which was outright repeal of the Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, otherwise known as Dodd-Frank. There were 400 rules there, and while only about 70% of those were completed, really the crux of the key rules were done. Margin requirements, capital requirements, regulation of the previously totally dark over-the-counter OTC markets. If those things started to be rolled back, I think it would be a big problem. So far, they haven't gone there.
Looking back at your time at the CFTC, is there an initiative or two that you wished you had pushed harder for?
There's not one that I wished I'd pushed harder for. I wish I sort of had stuck around a little bit longer for position limits because it's still not done. I left in April of 14 and I thought it was on a glide path. The rule that we approved, the second rule that we had approved, I thought was going to be supported by Republicans and Democrats alike, but it took too long, and then there was ultimately a changing of the guard there as a result of 2016, and it's still not completed. That said, markets have been operating pretty efficiently and effectively without the position limits, but I think we will rue the day when we don't have those in the future. I hope that's a long way off. I hope that they do implement position limits, but I sort of wish I'd stuck around to actually ensure that those were completed.
What is the future of artificial intelligence and machine learning and trading? Will the robots be replacing the cheetah traders that you've talked about?
I mean, it's all happening. I mean, it's incredibly exciting. And I don't think that the cheetah traders, the high-frequency traders who I know and love, they just need to be regulated in an appropriate way, but they add important in liquidity to markets. They are, by and large, a lot of the biggest ones are market makers, and so I think they serve an important function. I just want to make sure that they abide by sort of prudential rules of the road. But I do think that AI is really a competitor. Now, they're not necessarily separate, that AI is part of what HFTs operate upon, but there's also AI that's separate, and those firms are coming on strong. And to me, the entire landscape is changing in markets, and it's really a pretty exciting time.
What worries you about some of the emerging disruptive technologies?
Well, I worry that we don't have appropriate rules and regulations, and you might just think, well, that's a knee-jerk reaction from a guy who spent 30 years in government and 7 years as a financial regulator. But I think that would be not a fair assessment of my history, whether or not it's with regard to the cheetahs, who again know and love and want to see succeed, just want appropriate rules. And the same thing with cryptos. I was the first financial regulator to say Bitcoin, that was the only one back when I first commented on it on CNBC. I said they needed to add some rules and regulations. I still believe that. But I'm a big supporter of cryptocurrencies. I'm a big supporter of blockchain. And so I just think these new products that are coming down the pike need to have appropriate rules and regulations. Nothing that's overly aggressive, that throttles their innovation and thwarts the good that can be done, but you need to have some basic rules. And the people involved in this space need to come forward and present what those rules should be instead of just waiting around for regulators to come up with them, because it won't be done, and the regulators won't do anything. They'll just be slow and plodding, which is what, no offense, that's what regulators do. And then it's likely there'll be some catastrophe, and then boom, Congress will come in with an ill-fitting regulation, and some have argued that even Dodd-Frank included some of those. So that's what I worry about, overzealous regulation as opposed to working with the industry to come up with the appropriate sideboards that will make markets better, not just now, but in the future.
You mentioned Bitcoin and blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. What about those emerging technologies excites you?
Well, they're going to change payment systems, first of all. I mean, the blockchain itself is going to change all payment systems, and we're going to change title transfers that now take months. They'll be done ultimately instantaneously. They're already starting that now. It's taking days as opposed to months. I mean, I think we'll see title insurance based upon the blockchain and potentially pools of cryptocurrency. I think we'll see new cryptocurrency products that are pegged to different things. Things that I think there's pretty much three criteria for long-term cryptocurrency. So I'm I'm a supporter, but not an underlying believer in things that are based upon nothing other than supply and demand. So I get nervous about Bitcoin and Ether, although they have their place. But I think that there's three criteria that are key to the crypto's future. One, they should have some regulatory sideboards. Two, they should be based upon something real, something that you can actually touch and feel, whether that's gold or oil or real estate or a number of things, but something real. And third thing would be that it needs to be something, the cryptocurrency that ultimately survives, needs to be something that is honored in daily commerce. That you need to be able to go into a Starbucks or into a JW Marriott and plop out your real coin card and have it used. That's a real currency. At this point, I don't see any of these digital currencies being real currencies as we know them.
Will that mean that it has to be sort of a global regulatory response because there is no central control for cryptocurrencies?
It's a great question whether or not it has to be a global regulatory response, and in part the answer is yes, but they're not mutually exclusive. So I think that individual regulators are going to go along with what they can do in their own space, and understanding that it's limited because this trading is taking place out in cyberspace on the internet. But I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. We're going to see which regulators, whether or not it's in the EU or the US or in Asia, actually sort of pick up the ball and run with it. And what I can tell you is that I know US regulators have an interest in doing that, but they're not just going to do it based upon any application, upon any cryptocurrency or any blockchain endeavor that comes to them. If they're going to put their seal, and they all have their actual seals, and the SEC's their mantra is to protect investors, they're not going to put their seal and their mantra and mission behind anything unless they are really sure that it's not going to end up blowing up in their faces. So they want to say yes if they can, but so far they haven't been presented with the appropriate products.